She is an absolute superstar.
Since I've sent all my clients to you, I've never had any negative feedback.
I always want to be a lawyer.
Coffee or tea?
Oh, you get a pension? That's amazing, right? If something comes out of it, great. If nothing, then like I'm glad we had this great conversation.
How do you maintain that?
You know how much money is in BC?
Is that what?
You know the real estate in BC?
That it's not as hard as the Fresh Approach. Yeah. I'll tell you that.
It's either you're friends with them or you're never speaking to them ever again.
All right, we are back. Episode 12.
Yes.
It's only Ian, myself, and Alex today.
Yes.
Jinder's out with an MRI.
Out with an MRI. Poor guy.
And today we're going to be diving into a very important topic for anyone that is navigating the real estate market, and that is legal matters.
Yes.
We have a very, very special guest. She is an absolute superstar.
Yep.
She's been a lawyer for over 7 years. Her name's Alessandra Ocampo. She's
Thank
the
you.
principal lawyer and owner of Vantage Law, the best real estate lawyers out there.
Hands down the best.
Her and her team are incredible to deal with. They're consistently working around the clock to make things happen and always having our clients' backs in case things go sideways, which they tend to do. So thank you for coming.
Yeah,
No problem.
send
Thank
all
you
of our
so much
clients.
for having me. Happy to be here. Love working with you guys. So natural fit for me to be here.
Yeah.
I feel.
Awesome.
I've been a realtor for 6 years now. I've used multiple lawyers, but ever since joining the Fresh Approach, I have never had a client say anything bad when I send them to you.
No.
That's
Like
how we
never.
Like it.
Yeah.
Never.
That's how
And
we like
before it was like, oh, they rescheduled, or oh, this happened and oh, I didn't know about this. But ever since I've sent all my clients to you, I've never had any negative feedback.
And like
It's been fantastic.
I've been in the business 2.5 years now, and I try and always push my clients towards using you. And sometimes they have their own lawyers
Of
they want to
course.
work with. And in the event that there's always been something that's went wrong, but never with you guys, which is great.
Never.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
So we'd want to pick your brain today.
Sure. Yeah.
We have you have a handful of questions. I got a handful of questions.
So we'll start it off by saying, who is Alessandra Ocampo?
So I am obviously, like you've already mentioned, principal lawyer of Vantage Law. I come from a hospitality background, which is very similar to Ian. So that's where we are different.
Yes.
And that's where me leading this team becomes different, because we're so focused on hospitality in delivering these legal services, not in the old school way of like old lawyer behind a big wooden desk with a billion books that he's like read once behind him. And we just want to make the whole process as easy as possible. We like to be proactive. So, with your clients, you guys know we do an intro call like right off the bat so that they know what to expect. They know that even like 3 weeks out, you've touched base with your client, with the law firm, but the signing appointment may happen a little bit closer to your closing date. And this is why. Yeah. This is how land transfer tax works. Just basically answering all those questions right off the bat, so we don't have any surprises, because we know surprises are usually
Lots
a bad
of surprises.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's me in a nutshell in terms of law. Yeah.
I don't even know where to start. How long have you been a lawyer for?
So just over 7 years.
7 years?
Yeah. Yep.
And then how old is Vantage Law?
7 years.
So you right out of law school made Vantage Law.
Yeah. So basically I got called to the bar in January 2017.
Okay.
And then Vantage Law was born May 2017.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So very shortly after being called.
Did you always, like from childhood, did you always see yourself being a lawyer, or how did that?
I always wanted to be a lawyer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Honestly, now when I talk to like young people and they have no direction in terms of what they want, I'm so thankful that it was like really clear to me.
Yeah.
I loved watching Law and Order. And
Yeah,
I was
I
like,
love
yeah,
Law and
I
Order.
want to be Jack McCoy, but not because I don't want to do criminal law. But
that's what I was going to ask. What
Yeah.
made you go to like real estate and corporate and wills and estates versus, the courtroom?
Yeah. So I don't like litigation. That was never for me. In law school, you do moots, which is basically like pretend court.
Okay.
Just wasn't my thing. And I've always been an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So doing this and building something where it was purely based on like relationships and doing something also just transactional just made a lot more sense with like who I am as a person, and like, yeah, it matched who I am as a person and what I do for work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you got called to the bar, I didn't know that you started Vantage Law right off the bat.
Neither
Okay.
did I.
So
That's amazing.
What was the thought process behind, like, did you think about maybe going to work for someone else to start, or like, was it always, I'm going to start my own thing right from the get-go?
So this is a very funny story. I was a server at Joey's at Sherway, and I had been called to the bar already, and I could not find a job for the life of me, like at all.
Wow.
And so I was like, let me go back to what I know, which is hospitality. Let me apply for jobs during the day, and at nighttime, network with these guests. Prepared with my own personal business cards, having my spiel about looking for a job as a lawyer. And then within a month, I met somebody who was starting a mortgage investment corporation. And so they were like, how would you feel about starting a firm and we'll send you that business?
Wow.
So it's like new business and new business.
Yeah.
Start
Oh,
together.
Yeah, okay.
And so I was like, why not? I was 30 at the time, and I was like, I'm living at home. Why not just give it a shot? So I gave it a shot. So that's why me as a real estate lawyer is also a little different, because I started in the privates representing lenders. And it wasn't until maybe like close to a year after practicing that I ever touched a purchase and sale.
Really?
God.
Yeah. So it was like a little backwards, because
Yeah.
most lawyers start with purchases and sales
Yeah.
and eventually get to the lender side. But I started with the lender side. So that's how it happened. And I was with that, it was that arrangement for 2 years. And then we started Vantage Law. We just renamed ourselves to Vantage Law.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you didn't have the vision of, or you did maybe after law school, I'm going to create my own company, my own business.
No, because like I'm an immigrant. I came to Canada from the Philippines at like 6 months. So my parents always put in like, get a great job, do this, do that. I worked for the government while I was in university as a customs officer. And they're like, oh, you're done. That's what you're going to do
You're set for
forever.
life.
Oh, you get a pension? That's amazing, right? And I'm like, well, I'm miserable. So no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And so with going to law school, I just thought I'd be employed. And then this opportunity came, and still like that entrepreneur side of me was like, let me just give it a shot.
Yeah, why not?
And it's just naturally made sense. Like I was able to learn. I had no experience in real estate whatsoever, but I have such a huge network that I went to people that I know, lawyers. I said, teach me everything from start to finish. And I don't want, I will bring these deals to you. I don't want $1. Just teach me.
Just learn everything.
Just teach me.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So then I learned everything, and here I am now.
And now you're Vantage
and
Law.
that knowledge is priceless.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It feels like Vantage Law has been around for like forever, for decades.
Yeah, you guys run like a well-oiled machine.
Well-oiled machine. So can you talk about how you, once you realized that's what you wanted to do after, I guess, that 2-year mark, and you branded Vantage Law, what was the process like of building the business of Vantage Law?
So honestly, obviously, like anything, it was a lot of growing pains.
Yep.
We went through it. I had such a hard time not doing everything. Like I wanted to handle every aspect of everything, even if it wasn't necessary. I wanted to be the one to like, this was obviously 2017, like deliver the commission check to, to the brokerage, you know, like literally I wanted to do every single part of the process. But slowly we built a team of people we really trust. Like my husband and I run it together. My sister-in-law, my brother-in-law, my best friend, they're all part of the team. So we did it together. We did it organically, and we really took from other law firms and made it better.
Yeah.
Because we saw what their pitfalls were, and we also took the feedback from realtors and mortgage agents and just real estate professionals in general. And we're like, okay, well, we can do this better.
Yeah.
We can navigate through complaints about not being responsive, or complaints about clients not getting any sort of communication, like things like that. And so those are like the pillars of Vantage Law and making sure that we do operate as smoothly as possible.
Can you talk about like the growth from day one to like what it is now on a year by year basis in terms of like how you've grown?
Yeah, so we were with that other partnership for 2 years. After that was COVID. And, you know, at the height of COVID, that's really what took us off. So we, at the start of COVID, we were at 6 people. And then everybody was doing everything. Everyone was buying, refinancing. And then just through word of mouth, we got in front of so many referrals and we grew so quickly. And now we are at just under 30 people.
Incredible.
Including 3 lawyers. And we also do corporate and commercial law as well.
Nice.
Wow.
So it was just very organic. We do attend a lot of events and we sponsor events, but we didn't do any direct to consumer marketing or anything like that.
That was going to be my next question, because we see you a lot at like the Buzz conference and all of the major events that happen in the city and the GTA. You're there, which is fantastic. But how did you network with realtors to do business with you? Did you go out and call realtors, or like you just said it was word of mouth?
Yeah. And
what about
we actually had this conversation yesterday.
Yeah.
When I was at Joey's, there were a bunch of people working there, starting off as realtors, starting off as mortgage agents.
Yep.
And we were all there together serving and doing whatever we were doing to, you know, progress our careers.
Yeah.
And we still work together now. And so and then just through word of mouth, like one of the people that I met at Joey's is actually someone who introduced me to Christy and Jeff. So it's just, it's one of those things where I don't like to force it.
Yep.
I don't like to cold call. I don't want to beg for business. Even when I do go out to these events, I just introduce myself. I just have a real conversation. And if something comes out of it, great. If nothing, then like, I'm glad we had this great conversation.
Yeah.
And I just don't have, like, as much as it is sales, I don't want to be forceful with anybody. Yeah.
Because it just seems like Vantage Law dominates the real estate law world right now. Like, that's all I see. I don't know any other.
No, you guys crush it for sure.
Crush it.
Yeah. Well, I honestly put it down to like just being truly authentic.
Yeah.
I'm not trying that hard.
But you do things at a different level. Like you said, you're not like other law firms. Like, you know people's birthdays. You know when people are having like you go the extra mile for your referral partners, and that goes a long way. A lot of people don't do that.
Yeah. I had this one client, it was a purchase transaction, and this was also before COVID, so we used to go to clients' homes. So I went to her house, and I knew that I had to check her ID, right? So I knew it was her birthday that day, and I showed up with like a dozen cupcakes, and she was just like blown away.
Yeah.
But
it's the little things.
It's really the little things. You want these people to feel like you actually care and they're not just a file.
Yes.
Right?
100%, because I feel like for a lot of people it is just a transaction. You fill out the paperwork, you have them sign it, they wire the funds, and then that's it until the next one. But you guys really embark on that relationship, and that's why people continue to come back to you, and you get the referrals from the word of mouth.
Exactly. Yeah.
One thing I want to ask, I noticed that your team at Vantage Law, you guys have like an incredible culture. And everyone's always super, super happy. Yeah. Like, how do you maintain that, and how does everyone jive well together?
They love each other. Yeah. We all love each other.
Do you have a certain like interview process that like you have to not fit this mold, but
it's not as hard as the Fresher Pro. So I'll tell you that. But we do and we don't. We really pry in terms of what the person's like on a human level. Yeah. Not just what they can, what their experience is. Yeah. And one big thing for me when I am interviewing anybody, you could be a lawyer, you could be a legal assistant, you could be a bank runner, is like, are you teachable? Yeah. If you're not teachable, not coachable, then right off the bat, you are not flexible and you will not mesh with us. Yeah. And you could be the best of whatever it is that you're here to interview for. But if you are going to just cause friction within what we have, then it's not worth it.
Yeah.
And so we do a lot of team building. Last Friday was our taco party for our second summer social, where we had like a taco truck, we had a piñata, we did the whole 9 yards at the office, and thankfully the weather held up. But we do those things intentionally. Like right before I got here, we're planning for our next team building, which is going to be at the end of September, and plan for our Christmas party. So it's like all of these things. Yes, as a business owner, they are an expense, but the outcome of it is like,
because
there's
showing
no monetary value to that.
Because you're showing your staff that you value them.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. And the turnover for us is very low.
Yeah.
People do not call in sick all the time.
Yep.
They do their work. They know when to get things done and when to have fun. And it all comes down to the culture.
But you even celebrate like your staff's birthdays, and you
we
know, I
always
see that all the time.
Cool.
I wanted to ask, how did you end up relinquishing that control of having to do everything and be able to delegate at a certain point? Because obviously you said like COVID happened, and then you guys you blew up, right? Because everybody is going to be doing Zoom signings and stuff like that. How were you able to relinquish control?
I listened to my husband. I didn't want to. So he always says, he's like, I tell you that you should do this, and then you fight it, and then you do it, and then you think it's the best idea. So it's always like,
I'm right.
Yeah, but there's a process to that.
Yeah.
And there's the thing about me is I love admin work. Like I actually do. I love like data entry, and I like, it's so weird, but I actually enjoy that stuff.
Yeah.
So I try to explain it to people, and they're just like, what are you talking about? Why do you want to put email addresses into your, CRM?
Yeah. Someone else could do that.
But But so I realize that there are things that I shouldn't be doing. And I do need to keep myself available for problems that happen. Like I tell my family, do not ever call me between 4 and 5 on a weekday, because if there's a problem, that's when I am absolutely needed, and I cannot be distracted by anything else.
Yeah.
So, I understand that there are things that I don't like. I can do it if I want to, but now I do have other people that, help me with things like the emails.
Yeah.
You want me to keep going? I can keep
going.
Okay.
You can go for it.
What was I going to say? Did you envision this, like after you had that partnership that ended and then 2 years later, Vantage Law was born, did you envision that Vantage Law would be where it's at today?
No, I had no clue.
No?
No. It's just, when I look back, it's almost like weird to me. It's like, how did I get here? Right?
Like you're a business owner, you're a strong young professional woman, and you have this insane company. It's a company, it's a business. I just want to know, like, did you foresee it, but you just said no?
Like I really didn't. I just
went with it day by day.
Just went with it, and every day, just like you guys, you do, like I always, and I tell my team, I tell my family, it's like you plant these seeds at whatever point in time, and you see what happens. And I did that for like the first, I would say 5 years. Wow. And even obviously I'm still doing it. But it's crazy how I could talk to somebody 2 years ago, but because of who I am as a person, they still feel like they can still call me 2 years later and be like, hey, I have my first deal for you. Because I'm never I don't care. Time is, it is what it is. There's a reason why people come, and they might have a great relationship with a lawyer, but something happens and something goes sour and they need an alternative, or it could be as basic as a conflict, right? And I just always say, give us one shot, you'll love it. Or we'll wait until you need us. And so maybe that's a conversation I had 2-3 years ago, but I'm still here.
You're not going
you're doing this is your bread and butter for the next 40 years.
Exactly.
Right? It's only going to grow bigger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where do you see Vantage Law going within the next 5 to 10 years, or where do you want it to go?
So There's a lot of different things. So I actually got licensed in British Columbia.
Okay.
Okay.
When was that? That was like in 2019. So that was something that I was pursuing. And then obviously, like with everything, COVID just put a wrench in so many things.
Yeah.
So maybe entertaining that again.
Like opening up an office there.
Exactly.
Okay.
Why BC out of
Expanding.
all the
Do
provinces?
you know how much money is in
Oh,
BC?
is that why?
You're the
Well,
real estate in BC?
That
The values don't really change anything for what?
No, for, I
no,
guess, yeah.
no, but there's just a lot of transactions.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
the
for us
volume.
it's like
okay,
it's a
okay.
volume game.
Yeah, I got you.
And then also one thing I was doing before COVID as well was I love private lending. Like I absolutely love it. And I was exploring relationships with private lenders in the US.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if I want to study
That's a
again
whole
and get
nother-
licensed.
get licensed down there.
Exactly. Like
Yeah.
with BC, it was a relatively easy process to just get licensed there. I didn't have to study again.
Yep.
But with the US, I would have to. So
Okay.
yeah, so 5 years, we'll see
Yeah.
where we're at.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, BC is an option. That's a good vision.
Mm-hmm.
What kept you self-disciplined and motivated to like keep pushing and keep growing? Like, were there days where you're like, oh, F this, I don't want to do this?
Yeah, lots of them.
And like, how did you just like push through? Because there's a lot of people out there who have a lot of down days and can't see
Past that. Yeah.
right? Like, you grew this baby from nothing, essentially, and it's now this amazing business. How did you find that self-motivation every day?
So my personality is I just don't want to let anybody down.
Yeah.
So if you trusted me with something, I will just show up.
Mm-hmm.
Even if 3 clerks are on vacation or, and I am short staffed, I will always jump in. There is literally nothing that is beneath me. So, and I also want to maintain a reputation. So I will show up because I don't ever want somebody to be like, okay, well, Alessandra or Vantage Law didn't pull through for me.
Yeah.
Or their service is not up to their usual standard.
Yeah.
Or
they're falling off.
exactly. Those conversations are like somebody just putting a sword through my chest. I do not ever want that. So we have weekly team meetings to touch base about like just talking about that. What do we do? What is Vantage Law about? What are the expectations of me as your leader. And also our referrals in being partners with us. Yeah. So you just have to show up.
Yeah.
I don't ever want anybody to think that like, I'm going to send a deal and I don't know, it's kind of questionable whether or not it's going to go smooth. Mm-hmm. So I just, I would rather work really hard than ever have anybody disappointed. And that's why I get through it. The hard days, the easy days, the good days, you just got to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would be your advice to someone starting out that wants to, someone younger that wants to, not necessarily a law practice, but a business of some sort?
Yeah.
So I would say, don't have any shame. You need to tell everybody what it is that you're doing, because if you don't cheer for yourself first, no one else is going to cheer for you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remind my sister, because she's starting a new business right now. And you need to tell people the great things you're doing, because they're not going to ever know about those efforts if you don't tell them yourself. And it doesn't have to be you bragging like, hey, I sold a $4 million home, or I did this, and because I sold that, I drive a great car, or whatever.
Yeah.
You don't have to brag, but just make sure people know like, hey, I did this and I'm doing this, and those efforts have now translated into something real.
Yeah.
And you just have to persevere through it, because those hard days, they happen and they suck, because usually you're experiencing that on your own. But
when you're starting off, you're just by yourself, right? How
Exactly.
do you grow to that team of 30? Like that's
and I try to remind like people who have joined the team, like let's say year 5. Like I was running to the bank and I was photocopying and I was like requesting home insurance and doing all of those things. And there's no shame in that at all. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's very motivational. Well, we see that you do a lot of traveling.
Oh,
We see the summer has been quite busy for you. So how do you manage the business and family time and travel? Because who was it? We just had our team meeting and they're like, we knew she was in Italy and she responded to
it
an
was
email. Brit, yeah. So she responded to an email. What are you doing? Like, I said no rush. And you still responding to an email in Italy. So
Literally
how are
whenever
you
you call.
managing family time? Because you have a young son
Mm-hmm.
and the business and travel in the middle of all of that.
So that is something I struggle with. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I love working. Like I actually do. So I always need a pulse check on what's going on, even if I am away.
Yeah.
That Italy trip was actually my first trip for like a purely family trip.
Yeah.
And the longest time I've been away, which is 11 days. So I try to balance it as much as possible and, you know, putting the checks and balances in place. Obviously, there's other lawyers there too.
Yeah. But do you have an assistant to you that updates you daily with stuff?
No, not really.
No?
No. I have different assistants doing different things.
Things,
But
yeah.
I don't have one dedicated just for me 'cause she's on mat leave.
Oh, okay.
But it's like I hired a business coach because of that struggle, and I'm sure you experience this too. Weekends, I used to work like full days. Now I don't do that.
Okay.
And that is exclusively like family time.
Yeah.
Traveling, as much as it seems like I'm traveling for fun, and it is fun, of course it is, but a lot of times it's relationship building.
Yes.
I'm going with mortgage brokerages.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going on a weekend trip with a realtor, things like that.
Yeah.
Just to build those
Oh,
relationships.
I didn't consider that. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you guys know when you travel with someone, it's a very different experience.
Yeah.
sure,
It's either
yeah.
you're friends with them
Good
or
or
you're
bad,
never
good
speaking
or
to them
bad. Yeah,
ever
yeah.
again.
Exactly. So we really solidify our relationships when we do that.
Yeah. You're building
and-
memories.
Yeah. And with the family part, my family is a big part of the business. So a lot of times I don't have to separate it entirely.
Yeah.
I like a lot of people are like, how do you work with your husband? We do different things within the business. So it's not like we're in each other's faces all day long.
Yeah.
But it becomes something you just kind of
Yeah.
navigate, and it's literally a day-to-day. Like right now my son is not in school.
I was just about to ask,
Yeah.
how old is he again?
He's turning 3 in October.
Okay, so he's got one more year before school.
Yeah, but he's in Montessori, so he's been in
Okay.
Montessori since 15 months.
Okay.
But he would usually be preoccupied from 8:30 till 3:30,
Yeah.
and now he's at home. So this month I've been working more from home so that I could just kind of
Be with him.
see him when I have some time, because my in-laws actually live with us, so I have a lot of help at home as well.
That's good.
So if I do need to work and then just pop in to say hi, I can
Yeah.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's something I struggle with.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the one thing I asked. I'm like, I feel like she does
Yeah.
it. She does it all. There's only 24 hours in a day.
Yeah. No
Like,
matter what
my
time you
God.
call Alessandra, she's
She's gonna
guaranteed to pick up the
answer.
phone.
But it's a very efficient time that I spend, because I do still sleep like 8-9 hours a night.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay, that's
I need
surprising. Yeah,
I just need it.
yeah.
Okay, so this is a kind of like a two-part question.
Okay.
What did have you viewed as a failure, but now looking back, it's actually a success and it's helped you grow?
Well,
Like at the time, you're like, oh, this is a failure. This is crap. And then now you're like, okay, I've learned from that.
the division, like me leaving that other
Okay.
Oh, okay.
company.
Yeah.
I thought that was a failure. Obviously, it wasn't with any break in any type of relationship, whether you know, an intimate relationship, a friend, like it doesn't matter. It feels like a failure.
Yeah.
But looking back, I took what I needed to do what we do now. I learned a lot. I will always be thankful for that experience. But in the midst of it, it was brutal because I was also getting married. I had to move offices within like a 3-week warning. It was just like a lot of things happening in a very short period of time. So it really did feel like a failure. And I also didn't know the relationships that I built during that 2 years, were these people going to come with me?
Yeah.
or were they going to write me off
Yeah.
because I was no longer in that situation?
And now you're
So-
starting Vantage Law. What's it going to be like? It's
Exactly.
scary. Yeah.
Exactly. So now it's like, now I'm fully on my own.
Yeah.
And so with doing that, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Right?
How do I? That's
Where
cool,
does
though.
the name Vantage come from? Why Vantage?
Ooh, good one. That's a good one.
Actually, don't
So many
have-
questions that we've
I
asked.
actually
That we
don't have a great answer for that.
Oh, really?
It was honestly because in the height of that split,
Yeah.
and the split was so fast,
Mhm.
we had to come up with a name.
I feel like it's a cool name.
I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And
the logo has been the same ever since.
it has been, yeah,
Inception?
that
Oh, cool,
hasn't
okay.
changed. But I was not a lawyer. I was not going to be Ocampo Law Professional.
Yeah.
Corporation. Like,
Yeah.
I just,
Cookie cutter.
I could
Don't
not
want
it in
be
your
that
name.
person. So I was like, let's just figure out something really, really quick. And this is what we landed on. Honestly, I wish I had a better story.
Oh, I
Oh,
love
that's
it.
cool.
Yeah.
That's
It's
awesome.
different.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Do you want to get into a rapid fire? Or you want to ask one more question?
I don't know. I just have so many. We already asked for the advice for a professional. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Do you have any other
Do you
questions?
want your son to become a lawyer? Or?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But my husband says a hockey player. So we'll see what
Oh,
happens.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
God.
Okay, so we have 5 rapid fire questions. We'll quickly go through them.
Okay.
One, your favorite movie or one movie you think
I
everyone
was
should
hoping
watch?
you guys would ask
Yeah.
because I listened to a bunch of them yesterday. Limitless is one of my favorite movies
Okay.
because there were sometimes in the midst of growing this business where I was like, there is literally no limit to
Yep.
what the future holds.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What's one book everybody should read or listen to on Audible?
Okay, so again, because I was listening to the other podcast, you mentioned The Pursuit of Happiness. Right before getting called to the bar, I was all about like figuring out happiness. So there's a book called The Happiness Advantage.
Okay.
Advantage.
Vantage.
That honestly changed my life in terms of it talks about how to use happiness for the benefit of a company and for yourself in terms of just like professional growth.
Sorry, what's it called? I'm writing it down.
The Happiness Advantage.
Happiness Advantage.
Yeah, and it's a easy read. It's by like some Harvard professor.
Yeah.
But I was so fascinated with happiness because of this book and because of that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you think that's helped you a lot in terms of?
I think so because I don't approach anything like other lawyers where it's always confrontational.
Mm-hmm.
You need to just like everybody in real estate want the same thing.
Yeah.
The lender wants to lend.
Yes.
The borrower wants to borrow.
Yeah.
The seller wants to sell.
Yeah.
So it's like, let's be at peace.
Yeah.
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 I agree with
Yeah.
you. Everyone
Yeah.
wants to get to the same result,
Exactly.
but everyone wants to feel like they win at the same
I
time.
know.
Exactly,
Yeah.
which is the
yeah.
problem.
There's different things
So
on
hard
the
to
way
get in
up
the middle.
there.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
How do you take your coffee?
Black.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Okay. Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
When-
I've been awake since 5:30 today.
Is that like a everyday thing, Monday to Friday?
Yeah.
I'm up at 5 or 5:30?
Well, no, like between like I'd say like 5:30 and 6:30.
Yep.
Yeah.
What does like an average day look like for you?
Oh, good one. Okay.
We're
We're totally going off for rapid fires
It's all
right
good.
now.
I try to work out first thing in the morning, like
Yeah.
Okay.
like Christy. She always talks about
Oh,
like
yeah.
movement, right?
Yep.
So get that over with because once like 8:30 hits, my phone is going
Off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then you can't be as focused.
Yep.
And then I'm usually responsible for dropping my son off to Montessori, and then I go to the office. I like going to the office every single
I was
day.
gonna say, you're an office person.
Yes, and
Yeah.
I like build that culture too.
Mhm.
I'm
Yep.
the one who walks in, good morning, everybody. Like I
Yes.
know the people who are a lot quieter think it's annoying, but I don't care.
Yeah.
So I go to the office, have my meetings. I am on the road, I would say like at least 3 days a week, like
Okay.
visiting different people, having lunches,
keep your
events.
connections,
Yeah,
right?
whatever it is. I'm doing that. And
Because I'm sure you get invited to a hell of a lot of things.
Yeah.
yeah. And that's another thing I've learned, saying no, because you can't
Yeah.
obviously do all of the things.
Yeah.
And then I go home. I go home for like around 5:30, 6 o'clock.
Nice. Okay.
We try to like go for a family walk. We have dinner together. Son goes to sleep at 8:30, and so do I.
That's perfect.
Yeah. And when you have kids, bedtime is like 9 o'clock.
Yeah,
man.
exactly.
You're done.
I'm okay with that.
Once we see 9 o'clock, it's like, okay, let's go upstairs and brush
Yeah.
our teeth, put on a show.
Exactly.
What's one thing you can't live without?
I would say like coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really need it.
How many
to,
cups
like,
of coffee do you have a day?
2 or 3
2 or 3?
and
That's not
some
bad.
pre-workout.
Oh, I can't wait to have pre-workout again.
I know. Oh, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna be like, after my first pregnancy, I was like bouncing off the walls. Okay, I just thought of 2 more.
Okay.
What's your favorite drink, like your alcoholic beverage of choice?
Red wine.
Red wine? Any
Yeah.
preference?
Yeah, like California Cab Sav.
Cab?
Yeah.
You like McManus?
Yes.
Love McManus. It's like $20.
You'll be able to have it soon.
I can't wait.
Soonish.
Their petite Syrah is really good too. And then your favorite restaurant?
My favorite
Oh, yeah,
restaurant.
that's a good
Actually, I live in Kleinburg, so
Okay.
one of our favorite restaurants is called XXI. It's a steakhouse. We're big steak
Oh,
eaters.
nice. Okay, yeah.
And their food is great. The service is great. I can walk there.
Yeah.
And they know me. It
Oh, that's
it
sweet.
feels
Yeah,
like
yeah.
home.
That's
So
cool.
yeah, that would be my favorite restaurant.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
If people want to find you, where can they find you?
I am all over Instagram
Yeah.
at Vantage Law _. And you can just visit our website, vantage-law.ca, and all our contact details are there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you
Thank
so
you
much for coming
so
on.
much for coming
Thank
on.
you
I feel like we
amazing
could sit
having
here
you.
for another
Yeah.
half an hour, 45 minutes, just pick
Thanks,
your brain.
guys.
But so motivational, a woman in business. Like it just, I hope everybody gets a good couple
Yeah.
pieces of gold out of this podcast.
And if you
Thanks
guys
so much.
need a good lawyer, definitely hit them
Definitely hit Vantage
Best
Law.
in the game.
Yeah, she's the only one on my list.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome.
you.
Well, thank you for tuning
Thanks.
in. Make sure to.
Like, comment, subscribe. We're supposed to say it at the beginning, but we
Yeah,
always
okay.
forget every damn episode. So,
We'll catch you on the next one.
catch you on the next one.